Hey kids, today we're going to be doing lesson 6 of our personal narrative writing. And today I want to talk to you about getting to the heart of the story. So, the heart of the story is kind of like the main idea. And to be honest, it's not always real evident right away what the heart of the story is. That is something sometimes that you don't even get to until you're kind of really into the writing process. So the heart of the story is kind of like the most important feeling of your story. Maybe it's what you learned from what that experience. Uh, it's basically it's basically without coming out and saying it, uh, giving your reader an idea of why this story is important. Why does it matter to you? So you're not going to come out and say this story is important because no, it's kind of thinking through your story after you've written it and you think to yourself, why is this story so much more important than all the other ones? So what can I do to really enhance that idea? So I wrote a story a few years ago about an experience I had at camp, and it's interesting because I wrote the story because it was kind of funny, and then when I got done with the story, I realized that the most important part of the story wasn't the funny thing that happened, but what I learned from it. And that was not to be mean. I'm not a mean person. And you'll hear in the story how being mean in my story kind of ate me up inside, made me feel sick to my stomach, ruined my time at camp. So it's kind of interesting. So it because I after writing the funny part of the story, because I realized the mean part, I had to kind of add that in a little bit. I had to emphasize that because I didn't want that lesson to escape my reader. So, one of the things I did to do that is I rewrote my beginning. I started the beginning back to where I thought that's where the mean started. Okay. And so you'll see how I begin my story. I'm going to read it to you. It's called The Underwear on the Line. It starts, perhaps the mean started when I received a white egg colored swimming cap instead of a blue, red, or green. I was disappointed, to say the least. My head hung in shame as I heard a girl I never met before say, "Egghead." I turned around, and no one else was near, so I knew she could only be talking to me. So shocked by her insult that my tongue was frozen, I stood there flabbergasted and noticed the blue cap she was wearing and walked away. Egghead. Why is she calling me that? I don't even know that girl. I hate her. I don't understand why I got the white cap. I know how to swim. Whatever. My feet aimlessly wander toward the lake as my eyes give way to tears. Wiping them away, I silently vow not to let her mean words bother me. After a long day of camping activities, the meanness followed me into my cabin. I noticed my best friend Sarah and another girl laughing and pointing toward my bunk. "What are you laughing at?" I said. There, propped up in the dirty windowsill, were my underwear. They were purple with colored flowers. Not as embarrassing as tidy whities, but pretty close. "Who put these here?" I yelled, not able to contain my anger. Tears were already starting to run down my face, still fresh from my morning cry by the lake. Looking back and forth between Sarah and her new friend Elizabeth, I knew the perpetrator. "Sarah!" I yelled. "It was just a joke," she said, still half giggling and shrugging her shoulders. I was so angry I was going to explode. I will never trust her again, I think, as I storm out of the cabin by myself. The seed of meanness had now been firmly planted, and it started to grow. I need to get her back or like this. She needs to know what it feels like. Then she won't think it's so funny. As soon as I get a chance, I will put her underwear on display and then let her see how funny it is. The evil thoughts to start turning my tears into a sneer as I stomped through the woods down the path to dinner. Dinner was lonely. I sat by myself, pushing the slop they called tater tot casserole around on my plate. I knew the whole cafeteria was wondering why I was sitting by myself, but no one cared enough to ask why. Instead, the only thoughts I had were for revenge. I knew that would come later. For now, I would have to be patient. After dinner, we went on a hike to the campfire where the counselors told scary stories, followed by the roasting of marshmallows and making of s'mores. My mind could hardly focus on my surroundings. Kumbaya, my lord, they sang as the meeting came to a close. Now was my chance for revenge. Running as quickly as I could, I raced back to the cabin to start my plan. It was dark, but not enough that I couldn't see the outlines of the cabin and everything around me. I reached the cabin and breathed a sigh of relief. No one is here, I thought, wiping the sweat from my brow. Quickly, I tiptoed to Sarah's bed and noiselessly as possible pulled her suitcase out. I slowly grabbed the zipper and pulled. Zip. I looked around. Phew, no one's here. I glanced down and there they were. Her underwear, unlike mine, were neatly folded and placed in their place. I searched through trying to pick out the most embarrassing pair. Of course, hers are not that bad. I grab a pair of plain blue ones with a rainbow decal on the hip, automatically stuffing them in my shorts pocket, zip up her suitcase, and slid it back under the bed. I straightened up, looked around to make sure I wasn't spotted, and think, now what do I do with them? I think I can now hear the group tromping down the hill. Hurry, think, I said to myself. There, outside the cabin, is my answer. My night visibility diminishing by the second and the rapid exit of the cabin door, and I'm sorry, I rapidly make my exit out the cabin door and my way to the laundry line. I knew this was the perfect spot to get my revenge. The lines were four across, attached by a metal T on either side. I choose the string closest to the cabin and nearest to Sarah's window so she can get the full effect of the embarrassment I felt. I nodded my head, satisfied with myself. Just as I finished, the group was there. I hid in the darkness behind the wall of the cabin and simply strolled into the cabin, following the group in, like I was with them the whole time. Smiling smugly to myself, I continued my act as I got ready for bed, doing as I should and putting my PJs on. I had done it. I had gotten revenge. Just as I pulled the covers up to my chin, I hear, Psst, Michelle. Yeah, I answer. I'm sorry about your underwear. It's okay, I hear myself say. I lay in my bunk wondering about my actions. Guilt begins to sneak in and take the place of meanness. Lost in a sea of darkness, I fell asleep.